Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to you and yours, wherever you are on the World Wide Web. You're listening to Let's Talk, brought to you by the Men Empowered Organization on the Blog Talk Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com. My name is Brother MALACHI. I am your host and founder of the Men Empowered Organization. It is a Sunday, September the 1st, 2013. And tonight is the Book of Jasher, the Book of Jasher, chapter 39. Just want to remind you that the Book of Jasher, chapter 39, is not in Genesis, so you will have to pick us up when we get to Joseph in future chapters. And that will start in Genesis chapter 39. So we are in Jasher chapter 39. And if this is your very first time joining with us right here on Blog Talk Radio, we are on the Book of Jasher and getting ready to start Sunday through Thursday late night at 10 p.m. for the next 2 months. We will complete all 90 chapters of the Book of Jasher. The Book of Jasher is referenced in Joshua chapter 10, verse 13. So, if you have any doubts, where's the Book of Jasher? It was taken out or deleted by the Roman Catholic Church. So, we are finding out why did they want the Book of Jasher as well as the 14 Apocrypha books out of the 1611 King James Version. We're finding out why. If this is your very first time, if you'd like to comment while we are here live, you can always hit us up at 347-205-9279 and press 1 on your phone. And for those of you all who are joining in the chat room, if you have any comment or question, just hit us up and we will answer your question or put that comment out for our audience. And for those of you all who wish to contact us when we are not on the air, you can always give our office here a call at 504-484-9388, as well as our email address is menempoweredtoprosper@yahoo.com. Before we get into the Book of Jasher, going to have the commentary, our weekly commentary from WJMG 92.1 right here in Laurel and Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Coming up next, the music and words of the Gathering of Christ Church and much more announcements.
Read it. Verse 12. Amos chapter 8, verse 12. And they shall wander from sea to sea.
And they shall wander from sea to sea. That means you're going from this place to this place. Well, let me go over here. Oh, Islam, I don't know. I don't like that. Or let me go over to the Christian church. Well, I don't know. Or maybe let me go into Hinduism. Well, I don't know. I don't like this church because this preacher said this. I don't like this church because this preacher said that. Let me tell you, if you were in the Word, it wouldn't matter what the preacher would say. If you was in the Word, you'll be able to see over what he's teaching. But you're going from sea to sea, all over the place. Read.
Amos chapter 8, verse 12. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east.
Go ahead.
They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Most High, and shall not find it.
You're going to wish one day you was able to sit in your cushy house and cut on your computer and see the word of the Most High. You're going to long for that time. You're going to wish you had that opportunity. Soon reading the Bible is going to be against the this kingdom was given into the hand of Satan. Job 9:24 tells you the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. So in order for you to rule in this government, you must go to Satan to get your power. He tried to offer it to Christ. Christ denied it. But who took it? All the governments in this earth who will soon take. They live lavishly in this earth, off of bones, blood, sweat, and tears of the children of Israel. Yes, but now they have to pay. It's time. All these wars in the earth are culminating. They're leading to their own demise. And we're just the people with no weapons. This is our weapon. The only thing we have is this, Christ, in the name of the Most High, and we'll win.
And it's the music and words of the Gathering of Christ Church. Just want to remind you, for more information on the Gathering of Christ Church, you can always go to their website at www.gatheringofchrist.org. That's gatheringofchrist.org. Also, the Hebrew Academy is coming up fast, September the 22nd. That's right. You must register at GOCC by September the 22nd. Classes will start promptly. For more information, you can also just send them an email at gatheringas1, the number 1, at AOL.com. That's gatheringas1, the number 1, at AOL.com. Also, I am a graduate of the Hebrew Academy, and I tell you, it's going to be all good. You got to go ahead and get into it. There you will have a whole lot of knowledge to learn. Hosea 4:6 says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So don't you be without lack of knowledge. Find everything that you can that the Most High has in store for you. And I guarantee you, you're going to get it from the Gathering of Christ Church. So send that email to the gatheringas1 at AOL.com. It's all good right here. Welcome you to this week's edition of the Men Empowered Commentary right here on the Pine Belt's original Urban FM. It is Thursday, August the 29th, 2013. My name is Brother Malachi of the Men Empowered Organization. As always, we wish to thank Mr. Vernon C. Floyd and his staff for inviting us here to share with you absolute knowledge and truth. We can be reached at 601-297-2927 and online at menempoweredtoprosper@yahoo.com. And our web address is www.blogtalkradio.com/Men Empowered. Who is King James that we see on our translated Bibles? When I entered the Biblical Hebrew Academy of the Gathering of Christ Church, I had no idea who King James was. Here is a myth. King James is a white homosexual that has sex with his mother. Why should I believe in his translation of the Bible? This is one of many quotes that are repeated time after time when King James is the topic of discussion. The question is, where exactly these allegations descend from? An even better question would be, is there any proof of these alleged acts that King James committed? What if there was actually an agenda behind tarnishing the character of King James? What if he was actually a man who stood for truth, and because of this was viles the same way most people who stand for truth usually are? Christ warned us about a time in which people would be reviled for his name's sake. John 15:19, if ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, Therefore the world hated you. John 15 and verse 20. Remember the world that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. First, we will begin with a little background history of the man known as King James VI and I. King James' full name was James Charles Stuart, born June 19th at Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. He was born to Mary, Queen of Scots, and Lord Darnley in 1566. His father was murdered a year later after his birth in 1567. This led to James being crowned the King of Scotland at only 13 months old. He was at this time crowned James VI of Scotland, and at the age of 12, he assumed power over the throne. From the time of his youth, James was tutored in the languages of Greek, Latin, French, Italian, and Spanish. He was also a well-learned historian in his own right. It is also important to mention that he was learned in arithmetic and cosmographic, the study of maps, along with many other areas of learning. After ruling over Scotland for 36 years, James became the first ever king to rule over both England and Scotland, when he became King of England in the year 1603. It was at his ascension to the throne of England that he became known as King James I, while in Scotland he was called King James VI. This was due to the fact that he ascended to each of these thrones at two different time periods. While there were already 5 James to rule over Scotland prior to King James VI, James became the first to rule over England. He was the first king to sit on 3 different thrones at once, England, Scotland, and Ireland, and was responsible for uniting these 3 countries into what is called Great Britain. You would believe that an accomplishment as great as this would be taught in modern history. He was responsible for calling a decree for the translation of the Old and New Testament out of the original Greek and Greek tongues. This translation is known today as the King James Version 1611 Bible, and is the most accurate transition of the Bible simply because it correlates almost exactly with the Hebrew and Greek scrolls in which the Old and New Testament was written. King James had nothing to do with the actual translation of the Bible as far as hands-on translating from one language to another. He instead hired 47 of the best scholars of his time who were skilled in Hebrew and Greek to translate the holy text from one language to another. King James was a staunch opponent against the establishment known as the Roman Catholic Church, making quotes such as, "Rome is the seat of the Antichrist. The Pope is the Antichrist." And finally, the scriptures forbidden to worship the image of anything that God created. We have just mentioned a few of many of the quotes of King James in reference to what he thought of the Roman Catholic Church, then known as the Papists. In fact, James authored many books exposing and opposing everything from the Roman Catholic Church to the Rosicrucian order of witchcraft and sorcery that began to uprise while James was still on his throne. A collection of King James' writings can be found in a hard-to-find book named The Works of the Most High, and one other book, Mighty Prince James. Now we can see why the Roman Catholic Church doesn't take any measures to protect the character of King James. Once again, we can see the slave masters to turn history around in pictures, movies, and even in their history books. Just as the identity of Christ was changed, so was the identity of King James. First and foremost, we would like to establish the fact that King James was not a Caucasian in any way, shape, or form. In fact, many of the rulers of Europe from about 193 AD to about the mid to late 16th century were people of color. This period is documented in modern history as the Dark Ages, in which the descendants of the Israelites ruled over Europe for over 1,000 years. This is why this time is tactically referred to as the Dark Ages. Modern historians try to evade this fact by stating that the Dark Ages was a period in Europe in which no history was recorded. Neither were there any new achievements in the political, cultural, or economic times. You have to remember that these are the same institutions that claim that they can find proof of life as far as 1 billion years ago, yet they have a hard time trying to figure out something as simple as to who was in power during this 1,000-year period of history. Many so-called scholars would like to refute this fact but can't. One of the reasons is that there can be found within the coats of arms and artwork of many European countries the images of black royalty. First and foremost, you have to understand that King James was only the sponsor of the 1611 translation and not the actual translator. Secondly, there was a spiritual reason behind why King James called for the translation of the Bible out of the Hebrew and Greek tongues. In fact, this translation was prophesied in the Bible itself. Isaiah chapter 28 verses 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. The scripture states in Isaiah 28 that with a stammering lip and in another tongue the Most High will speak to his people. At the time that Isaiah received this prophecy, the Most High's people were speaking Hebrew. So why would the Most High need to speak to his people in another language? The answer to that question can be found in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. One of the curses that would befall the children of Israel for disobeying the Most High's laws was that they would be taken into captivity by a nation who is represented by the eagle. What nation is this referring to? Obadiah chapter 1 verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and set us rise up again against her in battle. Obadiah chapter 1 verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and through thou set thy nest among the stars, this will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. The nation being represented as the eagle in Deuteronomy chapter 28, is the nation of Edom, who is the father of the pure blood Caucasian. It was out of Edom that both the Grecians and Romans descended, two nations whose national emblem was the eagle. America, whose emblem is also the eagle, is an extension of the Greco-Roman Empire. They were responsible for enslaving the children of Israel, primarily the tribe of Judah. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. When our people were taken from the shores of West Africa, with the exception of a few learned men, had long forgotten their original native tongue, which was Hebrew. It was under our captivity in America that we were totally separated from our Hebrew tongue. King James understood who he was and who his people were. He also knew who the enemies of his people were, and with that in mind, he had our original sacred text translated into the language that would be given to us by our oppressors. The fact can and will be proven with the King James dictionary, which is contained in the front of most King James Version's Bible. Because of time, we will conclude this commentary next week right here on this station. The views and opinions of this commentary is strictly of the Men Empowered organization and not the opinions of this radio station. My name is Brother Malachi, and this is our commentary. Shalom.
I'm waiting in the shadow. It's you I follow. It could be tonight. It's all aligned, you were mine. I'm waiting for the word go. I'm waiting at the front door. So be prepared when your number's called. I'll be there. You can't stop the clock. There's no slowing down. When I call for you, you're out of time. Can't stop it now. We're running out of time. We need all the reviews ticking down. Tick tock. It's been a long time since I prayed. I feel you there, but I'm not scared. No, I'm not peeking out my window. I know there's nowhere to go, but I will not run, 'cause I'm waiting for no one. You can't stop the cloud. There's no slowing down. When I call for you, you're out of time. Know when you're time. You can't stop it now. We're running out of time. When you call to get you. Taking down, running out of time. No one knows, no their time. The time waits for no one.
It's the music of Richard Shepherd entitled Tick Tock. Okay, we're getting into the book of Jasher, chapter 39. The book of Jasher, chapter 39, verse 1. And when the sons of Jacob went from the city of Sarton, they had gone about 200 cubits when they met the inhabitants of Tapnach coming toward them. For they went out to fight with them, because they had smitten the king of Tapnach and all his men. Verse 2. So all that remained in the city of Tapnach came out to fight with the sons of Jacob, and they thought to retake from them the booty and the spoils which they had captured from Shazar and Sarton. Verse 3. And the rest of the men of Tapnach fought with the sons of Jacob in that place. And the sons of Jacob smote them, and they fled before them. And they pursued them to the city of Arbelan, and they all fell before the sons of Jacob. Verse 4. And the sons of Jacob returned and came to Tapnach to take away the spoils of Tapnach. And when they came to Tapnach, they heard that the people of Arbelan had gone out to meet them to save the spoils of their brethren. And the sons of Jacob left 10 of their men in Tapnach to plunder the city, and they went out toward the people of Arbelan. Verse 5. And the men of Arbelan went out with their wives to fight with the sons of Jacob, for their wives were experienced in battle. And they went out about 400 men and women. Verse 6. And all the sons of Jacob shouted with a loud voice, and they all ran toward the inhabitants of Arbelan, and with a great and tremendous voice. Verse 7. And the inhabitants of Arbelan heard the noise of the shouting of the sons of Jacob, and their roaring like the noise of lions, and like the roaring of the sea and its waves. Verse 8. And the fear and terror possessed their hearts on account of the sons of Jacob, and they were terribly afraid of them. And they retreated and fled before them into the city. And the sons of Jacob pursued them to the gate of the city. And they came upon them in the city. Verse 9. And the sons of Jacob fought with them in the city, and all their women were engaged in slinging against the sons of Jacob. And the combat was very severe among them the whole of the day till evening. Verse 10. And the sons of Jacob could not prevail over them, and the sons of Jacob had almost perished in that battle. And the sons of Jacob cried unto the Most High, and greatly gained strength toward evening. And the sons of Jacob smote all the inhabitants of Arbelan by the edge of the sword, men, women, and little ones. Just want to remind you, if this was not successful with the sons of Jacob, who are the children of Israel, we would not be here in America today, because that seed would have been destroyed. Verse 11. And also the remainder of the people who had fled from Sarton, the sons of Jacob smote them in Arbelan, and the sons of Jacob did unto Arbelan and Tapnach as they had done to Chazar and Sarton. And when the women saw that all the men were dead, they went upon the roofs of the city and smote the sons of Jacob by showering down stones like rain. Verse 12. And the sons of Jacob hastened and came unto the city, and seized all the women, and smote them with the edge of the sword. And the sons of Jacob captured all the spoils and booty, flocks and herds and cattle. Verse 13. And the sons of Jacob did unto Machmah as they had done to Tabnach and Chazar and to Shiloh, and they turned from there and went away. Verse 14. And on the 5th day the sons of Jacob heard that the people of Gash had gathered against them to battle, because they had slain their king and their captains. For there had been 14 captains in the city of Gash, and the sons of Jacob had slain them all in the first battle. 15. And the sons of Jacob that day girded on their weapons of war, and they marched to battle against the inhabitants of Gash. And in Gash there was a strong and mighty people of the Amorites and the Gashites, the strongest and the best fortified city of all the cities of the Amorites, and it had 3 walls. 16. And the sons of Jacob came to Gash, and they found the gates of the city locked, and about 500 men standing at the top of the outermost walls, and a people numerous as the sand up on the seashore were in ambush for the sons of Jacob from without the city at the rear thereof. 17. And the sons of Jacob approached to open the gate of the city, and which they were drawing nigh, behold, those who were in ambush at the rear of the city came forth from their places and surrounded the sons of Jacob. Get ready for a miracle coming right now. Verse 18. And the sons of Jacob were enclosed between the people of Gash, and the battle was both in their front and rear. And all the men that were up on the wall were casting from the wall upon them arrows and stones. 19. And Judah, seeing that the men of Gash were getting too heavy for them, gave a most piercing, here it is, a most piercing and tremendous shriek, and all the men of Gash were terrified at the voice of Judah's cry. And men fell from the wall at his powerful shriek, and all those that were from without and within the city were greatly afraid of their lives. Verse 20. And the sons of Jacob still came nigh to break the doors of the city, when the men of Gash threw stones and arrows upon them from the top of the wall, and made them flee from the gate. 21. And the sons of Jacob returned against the men of Gash, who were with them from without the city, and they smote them terribly, as striking against grounds. And they could not stand against the sons of Jacob, for fright and terror had seized them at the shriek of Judah. 22. And the sons of Jacob slew all those men who were without the city, and the sons of Jacob still drew nigh to effect an entrance into the city, and to fight under the city walls, but they could not, for all the inhabitants of Gash who remained in the city had surrounded the walls of Gash in every direction, so that the sons of Jacob were unable to approach the city to fight with them. 23. And the sons of Jacob came nigh to one corner to fight under the wall. The inhabitants of Gash threw arrows and stones upon them like showers of rain, and they fled from under the wall. 24. And the people of Gash who were upon the wall, seeing that the sons of Jacob could not prevail over them from under the wall, reproached the sons of Jacob in these words, saying, What is the matter with you in the battle, that you cannot prevail? Can you then do unto the mighty city of Gash and its inhabitants as you did to the city of Amorites that were not so powerful? Surely to those weak ones among us you did those things, and slew them in the interest of the city, for they had no strength when they were terrified at the sound of your shouting. Now here's someone real stupid, has already and seen and know of the powerful strength that the Most High God had for the children of Israel. So now they trying to get bold and talk trash, thinking that that was going to run off the sons of Jacob. Here we are in verse 26. And will you now then be able to fight in this place? Surely here will all die, and we will avenge the cause of those cities that you have laid waste. 27. And the inhabitants of Gash greatly reproached the sons of Jacob and reviled them with their gods. Oh, now here it comes. And continued to cast arrows and stones up on them from the wall. 28. And Judah and his brothers heard the words of the inhabitants of Gash, and their anger was greatly roused. This is the key. And their anger was greatly roused. Their anger was greatly roused. And Judah was jealous of his God in this matter, and he called out and said, Most High, help, send help to us and our brothers. Verse 29, and he ran at a distance with all his might, with his drawn sword in his hand, and he sprang from the earth, and he did of the strength, mounted the wall, and his sword fell from his hand. Verse 30, and Judah shouted up on the wall, and all the men that were up on the wall were terrified, and some of them fell from the wall into the city and died. And those who were yet upon the wall, when they saw Judah's strength, they were greatly afraid and fled for their lives into the city of safety. Remember Samson? Remember all the miracles that Joshua did? This is after this that I'm reading right now. Verse 31, and some were emboldened to fight with Judah upon the wall, and they came nigh to slay him when they saw there was no sword in Judah's hand. See, it's not by the sword, it's the miracle. His weapon is his mouth. Don't let his mouth open. But his mouth did open, and he gave praise to the Most High, and the Most High strengthened him as if he was 1,000 men. Reading on. There was no sword in Judah's hand, and they thought of casting him from the wall to his brothers. The 20 men of the city came up to assist them, and they surrounded Judah, and they shouted over him and approached him with drawn swords. And they terrified Judah, and Judah cried out to his brothers from the wall. And Jacob and his sons drew the bow from under the wall and smote three of the men that were upon the top of the wall. And Judah continued to cry and be exclaimed, O Most High, help us. O Most High, deliver us. And he cried out with a loud voice upon the wall, and the cry was heard at a great distance. 33. And after this cry, he again repeated to shout, and all the men who surrounded Judah on the top of the wall were terrified, and they each threw his sword from his hand at the sound of Judah shouting, and his trembling and fled. 34. And Judah took the sword which had fallen from their hand, and Judah fought with them and slew 20 of their men up on the wall. 35. And about 80 men and women still ascended the wall from the city, and they all surrounded Judah. And the Most High impressed the fear of Judah in their hearts. that they were unable to approach him. 36. And Jacob and all who were with him drew the bow from under the wall, and they slew 10 men up on the wall, and they fell below the wall before Jacob and his sons. 37. And the people upon the wall, seeing that 20 of their men had fallen, they still ran toward Judah with drawn swords, but they could not approach him, for they were greatly terrified at Judah's strength. 38. And one of their mighty men, whose name was Aru, approached to strike Judah upon the head with his sword, when Judah hastily put his shield to his head, and the sword hit the shield, and it was split in two. 39. And this mighty man, after he had struck Judah, ran for his life at the fear of Judah, and his feet slipped upon the wall, and he fell amongst the sons of Jacob, who were below the wall. And the sons of Jacob smote him and slew him. 40. And Judah's head panted him from the blow of the powerful man, and Judah had nearly died from it. 41. And Judah cried out upon the wall, owing to the pain produced by the blow, when Dan heard him, and his anger burned within him. And he also rose up and went at a distance and ran and sprung from the earth and mounted the wall with his wrath, excited strength. 42. And when Dan came upon the wall near unto Judah, all the men upon the wall fled, who had stood against Judah, and they went up to the second wall, and they threw arrows and stones upon Dan and Judah from the second wall, and endeavoring to drive them from the wall. And the arrows and stones struck Dan and Judah, and they had nearly been killed upon the wall. And whenever Dan and Judah fled from the wall, they were attacked with arrows and stones from the second wall. 44. And Jacob and his sons were still at the entrance of the city below the first wall, and they were not able to draw their bow against the inhabitants of the city, as they could not be seen by them, being up on the second wall. 45. And Dan and Judah, when they could no longer bear the stones and arrows that fell up on them from the second wall, they both sprung up on the second wall near the people of the city. And when the people of the city who were upon the second wall saw that Dan and Judah had come to them upon the second wall, they all cried out and descended below between the walls. 46. And Jacob and his sons heard the noise of the shouting from the people of the city, and they were still at the entrance of the city, and they were anxious about Dan and Judah, who were not seen by them. They began upon the second wall, and Naphtali, when went up with his wrath, excited might, and sprung upon the first wall to see what caused the noise of shouting when they had heard in the city. And Issachar and Zebulun drew nigh to break the doors of the city. And they opened the gates of the city and came into the city. And Naphtali leaped from the first wall to the second, and came to assist his brothers and the inhabitants of Gash, who were upon the wall, seeing that Naphtali was the third who had come up to assist his brothers. They all fled, and the descendants into the city, and Jacob and all his sons and all their young men came into the city to them. And Judah and Dan and Naphtali descended from the wall into the city, and pursued the inhabitants of the city. And Simeon and Levi were from without the city, and knew not that the gate was open. And they went up from there to the wall and came down to their brothers into the city. Verse 50. And the inhabitants of the city had all descended into the city, and the sons of Jacob came to them in different directions, and the battle waged against them from the front and the rear. And the sons of Jacob smote them terribly, and slew about 20,000 of them, men and women. Not one of them could stand up against the sons of Jacob. 51. And the blood flowed plentifully in the city, and it was like a brook of water, and the blood flowed like a brook to the outer part of the city, and reached the desert of Betharon. Verse 52. And the people of Betharon saw at a distance the blood flowing from the city of Gash, and about 70 men from amongst them ran to see the blood, and they came to the place where the blood was. 53. And they followed the track of the blood and came to the wall of the city of Gash, and they saw the blood issue from the city, and they heard the voice of crying from the inhabitants of Gash, for it ascended into heaven, and the blood was continuing to flow abundantly like a brook of water. Verse 54. Verse 54. And all the sons of Jacob were still smiting the inhabitants of Gash, and were engaged in slaying them till evening, about 20,000 men and women. And the people of Corinth said, surely this is the work of the Hebrews, for they are still carrying on war in the cities of the Amorites. 55. And those people hastened to ran to Betharon, and each took his weapons of war, and they cried out to all the inhabitants of Betharu, who also girded on their weapons of war to go to fight with the sons of Jacob. Verse 56. And when the sons of Jacob had done smiting the inhabitants of Gash, they walked about the city to strip all the slain, and coming in the innermost part of the city, and farther on they met 3 very powerful men, and there was no sword in their hands. Verse 57. And the sons of Jacob came up to the place where they were, and the powerful men ran. Yes, they ran. They absolutely ran away. And one of them had taken Zebulun, who he saw was a young lad and a short stature, and with his mighty dash him to the ground. Very interesting. You know, this is almost like this is almost like you know, what's the name of that movie that we have saw? What is the name of that movie? The 300. This is almost like the 300. And you know, someone told me, and I don't really have much on this, but someone had told me that this basically is Dan was the 300 from the movie 300. That was the tribe of Dan. Don't have much evidence on that yet, but this is rumor, and I will research that and get back with you on that about the tribe of Dan. Verse 58. And Jacob ran to him with his sword, and Jacob smote him below his loins with the sword, and cut him in two, and the body fell upon Zebulun. Verse 59. And the second one approached and seized Jacob to fell him to the ground, And Jacob turned to him and shouted to him, while Simeon and Levi ran and smote him on his hips with the sword and felled him to the ground. Verse 60. And the powerful man rose up from the ground with wrath and excited might, and Judah came to him before he had gained his footing, and struck him upon the head with the sword, and his sword was split, and he died. Verse 61. And the third powerful man, seeing that his companions were killed, ran from before the sons of Jacob, and the sons of Jacob pursued him in the city. And whilst the powerful man was fleeing, he found one of the swords of the inhabitants of the city, and he picked it up and turned to the sons of Jacob and fought them with that sword. Verse 62. And the powerful man ran to Judah to strike him upon the head with the sword, and there was no shield in the hand of Judah. And whilst he was aiming to strike him, Naphtali hastened, took his shield, and put it to Judah's head. And the sword of the powerful man hit the shield of Naphtali, and Judah escaped the sword. 63. Now this right here is showing me that the tribes of Israel are all in unison right here. 63. And Simeon and Levi ran upon the powerful man with the sword, and struck at him forcibly with their sword. And the two swords entered the body of the powerful man, and divided it in two lengthwise. 64. And the sons of Jacob smote the three mighty men at that time, together with all the inhabitants of Gash, and the day was about to decline. And the sons of Jacob walked about Gash, and took all the spoils of the city, even the little ones and women. They did not suffer to live. And the sons of Jacob did unto Gash as they had done to Sodom and Shiloh. Now, this is the conclusion of 39. Monday through Thursday, we'll be right back here on 10 o'clock starting tomorrow, which is September the 2nd. We will be here at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Blog Talk Radio, bringing you the Book of Jasher, chapter 40. The Book of Jasher, chapter 40. We will continue on until we have completed this book. And like I said before, it's probably going to take about 2 months, so hopefully we should have this done before October is out. So until next time, this is Brother Malachi wishing you a joyous night, and we will see you tomorrow. Shalom, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
I was lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the